Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Well, away for the moment from the political scene that we've been in, moving now a bit to security. Last week, you recall that there were reports that there had been attacks on communities in Ogun, Lagos and Ogun states by suspected, emphasis on the word suspected, Niger Delta militants. And then yesterday, as the deputy governor in Oyo, Ogun, I beg your pardon, as the Ogun deputy governor, Mrs. Yetunde Onanuga, was in a convoy to go inspect some of those areas, you must have read in the papers by now that her convoy also met with with an attack. And of course, the military escorts, I think did return fire. And so you can imagine how this is beginning to be worrying. Apparently there are connections via waterways, so you can actually end up, in the Niger Delta area if you are so minded, even though we're talking about Ogun and Lagos states. This is a bit worrying. We asked, and we're expecting Honorable Sanai Agunbiade, who is a legislator in the Lagos State House of Assembly. It's his constituency. He'll be with us shortly, all other things being equal. We also have a veteran, Mr. Aramide Noibi. He's a former PRO, Nigeria Institute of Public Relations. Thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Now, this is a very, very worrying thing. I know that you have spoken about this problem. One of the resolutions of it will come from dialogue, whatever that means. I mean, if we know the background to all of this, security, the anti-corruption war of the present administration, increased, heightened security at the pipelines. Now you can't broach them as easily as before. Revenue sources have dried up allegedly, for some of those people. And so there have been reports of their terrorizing these communities. And in the incident that I was sort of narrating, up to 50 people were reported to have been killed. And then yesterday now, this incident with the deputy governor of Ogun State. So what do you mean when you said dialogue might be the way forward?
Yeah, thank you very much, Yori. What I want to believe is that there is no gain without pain. And not only that alone, you want to believe one thing, that human beings, we are nothing but inanimate animals, very highly unpredictable. But then you have to believe that every man belongs to two worlds, the world of privacy and the world of institution, right? Far back, some years ago, during Abacha government, there was this agitation from the Rivers territory, led by Ken Saro-Wiwa, right, about the cleaning of the environment. At the end of the day, he led his life. He was shot, right? He was executed. Then the name remained institutional until when the Rivers people petitioned United Nations, and there was a verdict that that cleansing should be done, and federal government fined. But at the end of the day, after some years, thanks be to God, to this present administration, it took the bull by the horn, right? And that was when the vice president, went on his behalf, right? And then to do what they could have done some years back, the previous governments. And this is a plus to this government. Like I've always said, this government is God's chosen, right? Because it has doused a lot of tensions in Nigeria. That doesn't mean to say everything is totally out of place. But this time around, you see, we no longer need orientation alone. We need effective PR, public relations expertise, to make sure that you don't tell our leaders what they want to hear. You have to tell our leaders what exactly is on the ground, right? Thanks be to God, during the Yaradua administration, right? He was quick to arrest that same incident by granting them amnesty, right? And then he had and introduced some palliatives, right, to cushion the problems of the agitators then. And then the last administration took over, right? But unfortunately, the economy has nosedived, right? Something has to be done. You see, all I want to believe that these people ought to have been brought to the table, right? Genuinely, right? Imagine what exactly was the situation on the ground then and now. There's one thing we call education, information therapy, right? And again, you have to understand what is their level of thinking, their own contributions as well, because they are all Nigerians. I'm not taking sides.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're all Nigerians. They're talking about their contributions. 50 people are killed in communities. They're pillaging, they're robbing, and generally causing mayhem. You think this is because they haven't been engaged in meaningful dialogue? There's a problem, I think, because the communities understandably can feel a bit naked, that they're not protected. And that's why maybe when Honorable Sanai Agumbiade arrives, maybe he'll be able to tell us what official work efforts have been done. But if even the governor, the deputy governor of one of the states concerned, Ogun, had to actually tactically withdraw, it's very, very worrying. Can it be a matter of dialogue? You think dialogue, communication is quite, we know it's important in everything, but isn't this upfront, straightforward criminality?
Of course, what really happens is that, thanks be to God again, there has been this village meeting.
Okay.
You got my point.
So some communication. You know what? I tell you what, sir. Let's just take a quick break, and then we'll be back. As I said, the honourable member in the Lagos State House of Assembly, whose constituency it is, I think is able to join us now. Right. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, please. Okay, we've since been joined, I beg your pardon, we've since, the monitors have gone off altogether. Okay, we've since been joined by, Honorable Sanai Agumbiade. He is of the Lagos State House of Assembly, and he is representing Ikorodu Constituency 1. And why this is significant is that the two states, the borders, the fringes of the two states sort of, it's almost like a nexus, right? Is that right, in your constituency?
Yeah.
Now, you must have heard about the Deputy Governor of Ogun, who was on an inspection tour, as we hear. But then, following an incident where shots were fired, and when that kind of a thing happens, as you know, security details will rise to the occasion. In short, they had to withdraw. Now, here we are, no strife, no riot, no nothing. A deputy governor is actually turned back. It's like how people say, this handshake is beginning to, pass the elbow.
Well, I want to say that it's unfortunate that what is happening around the Elepete, Imuti, Igbo-Olomo, Ajegunle sides of the borders between Lagos and Ogun State is unfortunate. And we must commiserate with the families and individuals who have lost loved ones in the violence that broke out in that particular region.
A number has been given as up to 50.
Well, I want to take that as being speculative. It may be more, it may be less. But those who are hit directly will be able to recount what has really happened. It's so unfortunate. But I want to...
And are we dealing, I beg your pardon for interrupting you,
Yeah.
are we dealing here with suspected Niger Delta militants?
Well, that is what is in the news, and that is what is being speculated. We may not be able to get deep down into who are the perpetrators, but to the extent that Elekwete, that axis is close to Arepo, and Arepo is so notorious for the activities that go on there, day in, day out. And of course, the cause of the crisis has, been reported, emanated from a kind of reprisal attack on the community by those suspected to be Niger Delta guys. Following.
I'm sorry, sir. Just as you said that, it's viewed in some quarters as something of a reprisal attack, and this is because they, continuing our speculation as to who exactly is involved, they are thinking that the residents and landlords of the area are people who are informing the authorities of movements, and the authorities upon acting upon this has not met with their pleasure, and that's where the whole matter of reprisal comes from. Or where else is reprisal coming from?
Well, from what we gathered in the news, activities of some security agencies in the area led to the death of two and arrest of some other members of some other guys suspected to be Niger Delta guys. And the death, whatever might have caused that, was what they actually came to avenge. And that led to a series of cars. The landlords that were killed, what we gathered is that naturally, aside from what happened, there are cases of armed robbery intermittently here and there, and it is natural because of the shortage of manpower to the Nigerian police, whose duty ordinarily is to protect life and property. An individual has no business, securing his environment. But when you have a shortfall and you don't just open your eyes and allow things to go, sir, people form themselves into volunteer vigilante, who just feel that we could just guard our area against, petty robbery and the rest of it. Unfortunately, that was the time that those guys struck. And of course, the bonfire made attracted them, so we learned, and without even listening to anything, they just wasted those people. And that further heightened the tension in the area, people relocating. But I was involved somehow in the communication, because I represent that constituency. People were calling me, I was calling, those who should be able to do I was in constant touch with the Commissioner of Police and some other persons. And for now, I want to believe that the joint security team by Ogun State Command and Lagos State Command has actually yielded, peace. We just pray that peace is institutionalized, and the people will have, that confidence that there won't be a repeat of what has happened. As we speak, there are military personnel that have been deployed to the area. The police force has also deployed its members there. And from what I gathered from the heads of the community and opinion molders in the community, they keep watch on the affected communities day and night on shift system that 24 hours has been monitored.
Would you say that we have the situation under control? I ask this against the backdrop of the news of the deputy governor actually having to turn back on an intended tour of the area.
You may assess, like I said, you may assess the troubled communities from two ends, Ogun State end and Lagos State end, because these communities are border communities. So I will want to say that when a situation like that happens, it requires a lot of tact. It's a lot of logistic issues. We should not be too much in a hurry to take, very, very dangerous steps. Issues like that calls more for security reinforcement, security, surveillance.
Okay, you're talking about the vigilantes now.
No,
that
I'm talking
they
about
have limits.
you are saying that the governor visiting
The deputy governor,
visiting that place.
she wanted to.
Yeah, she wanted to. I want to say that this is not the time for that.
Okay.
This should not be the time for that, because one, you are not talking about people just protesting. You are not talking about people, agitating. The police will definitely, the soldiers, everybody will just be somewhere. You cannot really pin down where those guys are hiding, where they are, and you have to traverse a distance.
You think
there.
security should have advised against it?
I think that for now, what we need is for securing that place. Statement could be made, press conference could be made. You don't just go to a war-torn area. It's like war-torn area.
Almost.
You don't just go there at this other time, because it's like the agitation of these people. The agitation is somewhat against the government. The Niger Delta, all of them, this and that, they are saying self-determinism, agitation. But when agitation is now turning into destruction of properties that will even affect the economy, everybody's affected. So the agitation has gone beyond, agitation. Agitation, yes, you can do a lot of, you can issue press releases. So I want to believe that a situation like this requires calm and a lot of security surveillance.
Meanwhile, it must have displaced so many residents, because people began to move out.
So many people have been displaced. People who are helping their community. It's a very sad story. It's a very sad story. People were picking bodies on the street and this and that just because of what happened. And these are innocent people. But what you said may be right, because one, in an area like that, where you allege that some people are vandalizing, some people are selling fuel illegally, some people buy. Some people buy and retail and sell. So it's like one way or the other, they might have really walked into one another, knowing one another. So they may suspect sabotage on part of some other thing, and maybe that's why they did that.
Maybe.
But unfortunately, when that happens, it is the innocent that will suffer a lot. So I want to believe that most of the people that died in the thing were innocent people, and I don't think it was called for.
But as you've said, in spite of the carnage, you seem to have given an indication that the authorities, the military, the police, and all relevant security people are actually a bit, I hope it's not a bit, actually on ground now. I don't know, but from the way you're sounding, I don't think you would be recommending that it's all right now for people to return to their abodes.
Well, some people are there, and since Sunday morning, because I keep tab, on the community institution report, to be able to know what next to do if there is any uprising again. As soon as been calm, I must commend the CDA, because my own community is more to the Agbede and the Igbo Olomu side. The Elekwite, the Okemuti, the Ajegunle are more to the side of Ogun State, and that's why I want to believe that the response, as perceived by people to be slow, is a border issue, and logistic has to really be coordinated. The place has its different commands: Lagos Command, Ogun Command. Lagos Command can't go into Ogun Command. Ogun Command can't go to Lagos unless there is a joint patrol that will definitely give that. And that's what really worked out in that. Ogun State Command, Lagos State Command worked in collaboration, and that's why they have been able to do that. And of course, with a security beef up, from the federal government, the soldiers now coming in and being stationed there. I want to believe that, God helping us, the peace will persist and will be institutionalized.
Well, Mr. Noibi, so maybe this goes back to some of the things you were saying at the beginning about good communication can also have a role to play in securing the peace here, because maybe when there's a crisis like this and nobody knows what's going on, nobody knows what the authorities are doing to help, people can just see that their neighbor is in trouble on the left, their neighbor is in trouble on the right, in front, behind, and so in the absence of excellent information, panic can set in, and people can maybe worsen a situation that perhaps they're trying to escape from. Might that be the areas in which you are thinking that people de-emphasize communication in crises like this, whereas it's very, very important?
Thank you very much, Yori. I want to believe one thing. For some years back, right?
I beg your pardon. I'm getting a call from Warri now. London Newman. Thank you for calling in. Good morning.
Good morning. Can I speak with you now?
Please go ahead.
Yes. Good morning. Can you hear me clearly?
We can. We can hear you. Is that London Newman?
I want to contribute to what you're discussing.
Please go ahead.
Yes. Something that will, I'm hearing you. Okay, something that will contribute peace to this country. And I want to suggest for you guys that the ethnic nationality leaders, these guys are not taking this message down to the local communities. Because where I work is an oil producing area. So what we do is, for peace to reign, they should bring the message back to the people, because these Niger Delta areas are underdeveloped. Because what I would suggest, the leaders, the ministers are being trusted by the president. Can you be able to bring down these people to see the rural areas where are underdeveloped, so that they can take the message back to the president? I think that will bring the development to the rural areas, and that will calm this peace in Niger Delta.
Okay. Mr. Newman, thank you very much for calling in.